welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into the career of Tetsuya Komuro. He's just this massive figure in Japanese music.
Absolutely huge.
And his Wikipedia entry is, well, it's packed. We're tracing his path from classical roots right through to his electronic dominance and even what he's doing now with AI.
Yeah, it's quite a story. We want to unpack, the key moments, the innovations, and really understand his impact.
It's not just a timeline, right? It's about the why behind it all.
Exactly. He didn't just write songs, he kind of built a whole sound, a whole era. The source gives us so much detail, so we'll try and pull out the really fascinating stuff.
Okay, let's dive in. Foundation first.
It's kind of wild he started with classical violin at age 3.
Yeah, 3 till 12. That's nearly a decade.
Yeah.
It gives you such a grounding, doesn't it? Melody, harmony.
For sure. But then he completely shifts gears, self-taught on keyboards.
Totally.
Yeah.
And developed this really unconventional flat-handed style.
Right. Not the standard way, but it helped him play octaves easily. Octaves, bass lines slapped on the keys. It's like function dragging form,
Makes sense. And then that moment at the Osaka Expo.
Sinai's out to Mita. Yeah, that was clearly life-changing for him.
He actually said he wouldn't have even pursued music if it was only traditional instruments.
He did, which just shows how massive that synthesizer performance was for him. It wasn't just cool, it was fundamental.
And he wasn't messing around. Middle school, he sells his violin, his guitar, even his mom's Electone.
Without asking. Yeah, all to get that Roland SH-1000 synth. That's a serious commitment early on.
Definitely. And that wasn't just about owning it, right? He started composing.
Straight away,
Yeah.
seriously composing. And apparently some early versions of his later hits came from that time.
Wow. On an SH-1000. That's impressive.
Yeah, one of those early monophonics. It shows he had a clear sound in his head even then, a total break from acoustic stuff.
You can see the direction forming. And in high school, his talent was already obvious, doing homework for classmates.
Huh. Yeah, apparently so. He was the go-to music guy. And at the same time, he was soaking up Western music.
Progressive rock, funk.
Yeah.
You mentioned Keith Emerson, Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, big influences. Jazz pianists, too. He wasn't just listening, he was living it. Rock cafes daily, writing for a fanzine called Rock Bottom, really immersed.
So you've got this blend, classical discipline, prog complexity, funk rhythm.
It's a fascinating mix. Then he gets into Waseda University, but academics weren't exactly the priority.
Right. Music took over. But he found statistics interesting. That seems kind of out of left field.
Well, he saw the value in understanding audience reception, like through research, which is pretty forward-thinking for a musician back then.
True. But mostly it was music, music, music. Using tuition for gear.
Yep. And eventually getting expelled shows where his focus was, right? Maybe not the smartest move conventionally, but...
But total dedication. And this led to early gigs. A dance party band at 18.
Yeah, his first paying gig. He admitted he wasn't technically amazing yet, but because he had synths.
He was in demand. That early tech adoption gave him an edge.
Exactly. That edge carried into 1982 when he was making demo tapes, really pushing for a certain kind of dance sound.
Not just basic techno-pop, you said.
No, he wanted something with, higher quality sounds, even without top-tier gear. Thinking about Giorgio Moroder, ELO, the Boogles, those kinds of productions.
And those tapes eventually led to TM Network.
That's the breakthrough. Forming the band, but also simultaneously becoming this prolific songwriter for other artists.
Yukiko Okada, Misato Watanabe, loads of people, encouraged by industry figures, too.
Yeah, Takuko Miura, Satoshi Kono, and importantly, that songwriting work actually helped pay for TM Network's stuff.
Oh, interesting. So it funded the band's promotion and projects.
Pretty much. It was smart, and his collaboration with Masahiro Omura was key then, too.
Why Omura specifically?
Because Omura kind of got Komuro's ideas, which could be pretty out there, and helped translate them for the mainstream J-pop audience, bridging that gap.
Right. Innovation needs that bridge to connect sometimes. And it worked. My Revolution from Misato Watanabe was huge.
Won a Japan Record Award. Massive hit. And then TM Network's own big one, Get Wild.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Especially with the City Hunter anime tie-in.
Totally. But even then, Komuro was super competitive. Apparently, he was annoyed Get Wild didn't hit #1.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with that success?
Yeah. So he started actively managing release dates, trying to avoid clashing with other big singles. Shows that business mind again.
He was definitely thinking beyond just the studio, which maybe leads into that London trip in '88. That feels important.
Very. He went to soak up the international scene, production techniques. He's even worked in the Thompson twins' private studio.
Wow. He had plans for a TM International band.
Yeah, TM International, but it didn't pan out. I think it was a bit of a reality check.
Seeing the differences between the markets, Japan versus the West.
Exactly. And maybe realizing his own technical limitations at that specific point for that global stage.
But setbacks can spark new things, right?
Okay. Totally. He got really interested in P.W. Elstock, Aitken Waterman's production house.
Ah, the Hit Factory UK.
Right. That got him deep into studio work. And he was hearing Jonal music in London, too. All of this led to him booking regular sessions in London studios.
Refining his sound. And then his solo debut hits in '89.
Yeah. Running to Horizon, Gravity of Love, both #1s, plus composing for films, dramas, musicals. His output was just exploding.
He's juggling so much. Performing, writing, producing. When did the shift to full-time producer really happen? Was it that chat with Max Matsuura?
That seems to be the catalyst, talking about remixing TM Network songs Eurobeat style.
But Komuro was hesitant at first.
Yeah, he felt TM Network had hit its ceiling fan-wise, called them his 150,000 erasers, like they couldn't erase beyond that number, and he wasn't sure about Avex yet.
They were newer then, right? Less established.
Exactly, but Matsuura was pushing the potential of dance music, Eurobeat, reaching a way bigger audience.
Matsuura saw the future there.
He really did. And Komuro, being Komuro, started researching. DJing, watching crowds, judging auditions.
Really trying to figure out what worked on the dance floor?
Yeah. And his rationale was smart. Karaoke and discos were huge. He wanted songs people could sing and dance to, serve both markets.
Fill that gap. He was also frustrated with older synths.
Yeah, the limitations for complex programming. He wanted dance music to have the same power, the same impact as rock music, not just be repetitive loops.
Elevate the genre.
Huh.
Okay, so he signs with Avex Tracks, but he's still with Epic. That sounds complicated.
It was, but he set up his own structure to handle it. Opera gig, later TK State, plus Antinos management, basically figuring out how to divide the money from all his different roles.
Like his own mini corporation.
Yeah.
Very savvy.
Totally. It gave him control. Then in '93, he fully commits. Multiple studios, LA, London, specialized staff.
The building machine?
The production machine. And he mentioned being influenced by the orb around then, ambient stuff.
Interesting. You can kind of hear hints of that atmospheric quality sometimes, even in the pop stuff with Treefuff.
Yeah, subtle layers. It's cool he reflected on moving from being a one-man band to this big system, but still saw the value in doing the writing, composing, arranging himself.
Keeping his hands in it.
That holistic view. And then, 1994, the decision to end TM Network's run.
Why then? Creative limits within the band.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
And a real desire to focus on producing female vocalists. But he called it completion, not dissolution. Smartly left the door open.
Which eventually reopened, yeah.
Yeah.
But that move basically unleashed the Komuro boom, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. 94 to 99 was just insane. Producing, writing, arranging for everyone. Elisa Mizuki, Ryoko Shinohara, Treefuff, Hitomi, Yuki Uchida, H. Jumble with T.
Gob, Tomomi Kahala, Namie Amuro. The list just goes on. It was total saturation.
The Komuro Sound was J-pop for those years. He even set up Antinos Records to support it all, had an exclusive songwriting deal. The infrastructure was massive.
And his production models was inspired by stock Aitken Waterman, Nagato Daiko from Being, and Steven Spielberg. That's quite a combo.
Right. Mass market efficiency, focus on quality and quantity, and even film director management techniques. He pulled from everywhere.
Synthesized it into his formula. Dance beats, super catchy melodies. Max Matsuura stressed those hooks, right?
Yeah, those instantly memorable bits were crucial. He tried going international again with Eurogroove in '94, but his domestic success was just too huge.
Had to focus on Japan. And the awards followed.
Yeah.
Japan Record Award, 4 years straight.
Unbelievable dominance. And the control he had. Record labels, sponsors just gave him full delegation. Unheard of, really.
He even negotiated directly with media and gave up copyright fees on commercials for more airtime.
Yeah, he understood promotion inside out. Maximize visibility. That's thinking like a mogul, not just a musician.
But running all that, it must have been immense pressure. He moved management to Avex's TK room and relocated to LA.
Seems like it. Needed some distance, maybe a change of scene. And, criticisms started popping up about all the tie-ins, the commercial focus.
How did he respond to that?
Pretty openly. He argued that commercial success buys you the freedom later to do more personal, maybe less commercial work. You need the foundation first.
Makes sense from a professional standpoint.
Yeah.
And he and Takeshi Kobayashi were seen as the double TK era, right?
Yeah, two TKs dominating the charts, different styles, but both massive. And that moment in April '96,
Top 5 singles on Oricon, all his productions.
still a record, I think. Globally, too, just staggering. And the album sales that year, Globe, Amuro, Kahala, over 15 million combined from his work.
Mind-blowing numbers. No wonder he was one of Japan's top taxpayers.
Yeah, the financial success was immense. He even set up that joint venture, TKNUWS, in Hong Kong with Rupert Murdoch, always thinking bigger, global.
Did much come from that international push? He did a remix for Speed 2.
Yeah, some projects like that. But his focus shifted more towards Asia, using the internet for collaboration, trying to raise Asian sound quality compared to the US.
Ambitious goals. Did it face challenges?
Seems so. Tech disparities between countries, maybe overestimating how well his brand would travel instantly to new markets. It wasn't straightforward.
And like all booms, it eventually started to cool down, didn't it? Late 97 onwards.
Yeah, a gradual shift. Musical tastes were changing, maybe moving away from that specific Komuro sound towards other electronic styles or different vibes altogether.
What else contributed?
Well, Globe slowed down a bit, partly due to some friction with FX. Key artists like Namie Amuro took a break. Tomomi Kahala had her own issues. And new huge stars were rising.
Utada Hikaru, Ayumi Hamasaki.
Exactly. Morning Musume, too. The whole center of J-pop gravity was shifting.
And Komuro signed with Sony then. Back to his old TM Network label. Got a big advance.
He did. Produced artists like Toko, Ami Suzuki, Mika Mirai. But it wasn't quite the same level of mega success as the mid-90s.
Was he experimenting musically too? Trying trance?
Yeah, with Globe and True Kiss Destination. Pushing trance sounds into J-pop, but it didn't fully click with the mainstream at that point.
So, new artists rising, his experiments not quite landing broadly. He must have felt the change.
Oh, for sure. He talked about feeling the impact of visual key bands, Tsonku's Productions, Utada Hikaru, starting to think about his next steps, maybe wanting to step back from the relentless hit machine.
A change in mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Less about pure commercialism.
Seems like it. Wanting to connect more with listeners, aiming for a select shop approach, he called it, not just mega hits. His manager, Maruyama, later wondered if they delegated too much during the peak.
Interesting reflection. Maybe he needed more focus on the core music and artists.
Possibly. And then the early 2000s brought, well, significant financial troubles.
Ending the Sony deal, paying back part of the advance. This was around when Ami Suzuki's career stalled and Namie Amuro moved on from his production too, right?
Yeah, a convergence of factors. His personal life was changing too, marrying Asemi, then later Keipo from Globe, and his company Rojam had that IPO in Hong Kong.
Which didn't end well.
Initially made him a major shareholder, yeah, but then the stock value plummeted, big losses, drained his cash. He ended up dissolving one company and moving management to Yoshimoto Kogyo.
Yoshimoto Kogyo. That's mainly comedians and variety talent, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a shift. He was working as a talent for them too, and the financial pressure was intense. Repaying Sony? That led to the Fuji Bank loan.
Using his copyrights as collateral. First time ever in Japan.
Yep. Shows how valuable his back catalog was seen, but also the depth of the financial strain. Plus, it came out he'd had an advance from Avex for a Globe reunion, which helped pay Sony back. It was complex.
And personally turbulent, too. Quick divorce from Asami, then the big wedding to Kaiko. Broadcast live.
Yeah, very public highs and lows. But behind the scenes, he was struggling to pay the divorce settlement to Axemi, selling off assets.
Cars, property.
Sounds like it. Sold his whole stake in Rojam in 2004 at a big loss. Didn't fully use the Avex advance, had issues with unpaid sponsorship fees. It was mounting.
Then he leaves Yoshimoto in 2007, signs with eMusic, which turned out to be linked to a fraud group.
Yeah, that connection surfaced later. He was apparently looking for TV work around then, too, and he admitted on the radio in 2008 that he had felt creatively burnt out for much of the previous decade.
A tough period. And sadly, it culminated in that fraud case.
The 500 million yen case. That 2006 agreement to sell copyrights he didn't fully own anymore.
He'd already transferred many to publishers, right?
Exactly. He took a 500 million yen advance, supposedly to clear his ex-wife's lien on royalties, but the rights weren't fully his to sell.
So when he couldn't return the advance,
The investor sued, they reached a settlement Komuro couldn't meet, and then the criminal complaint was filed. Investigations showed the money went to pay other debts, not the stated purpose.
leading to his arrest in November 2008, the media coverage was intense.
Huge news. A real shock, given his status. Indicted, released on bail, paid by Avex and Kaiko, court hearings in 2009.
But Avex's Matsuura stepped in, paid the victim to settle before the verdict.
Yeah, a significant sum. Komuro read an apology in court. There were conflicting stories about the settlement talks, but a fan movement also started, asking for leniency.
And the final verdict.
May 2009. 3 years prison, suspended for 5 years. No appeals. A very dark chapter closed.
It's incredible he came back from that.
Yeah.
His first production post-hiatus for AAA went to #1.
A-Tai Re, Dream After Dream, straight to the top in 2010. Showed he still had the touch. Then he wrote for Shinichi Mori, a veteran singer.
Back in the game, he said it felt like his busy 80s songwriting days.
Yeah, pouring himself back into creation. Globe released a best of with unreleased tracks. He did that Dominu live stream in 2011. Big online audience, engaging again.
And the big one for fans, TM Network reformed in 2012.
Yeah, proper reunion. Concerts, new music, leading up to the 30th anniversary in 2014 with tours and albums, a real comeback.
He seemed really active again, but then the hiatus in 2018.
Announced pretty suddenly. Cited mental fatigue, caring for Kaiko after her health issues, his own hearing loss, feeling creatively blocked. He also denied affair allegations that came out around the same time.
But again, a pause led to a return, quietly producing ambient stuff in 2019.
Yeah, under the radar initially, for architecture, art projects, not using his name.
Then back publicly in 2020 with Nogizaka 46, Route 246.
Which was a big streaming hit, showed he could still connect, then worked with Ayumi Hamasaki, got TM Network going again, finalized his divorce from Kaiko in 2021.
And his recent work is so varied, D4DJ Link's Eyes, NFTs.
Yeah, releasing digital art. Launched his own fan community, Tetsuya Komuro Studio, put out a vinyl album, Jazzy Token.
And that Riken appointment, visiting chief researcher for AI music.
Amazing, right? Especially for a musician without a doctorate, collaborating on AI systems, analyzing his own style with AI, plus executive roles in a Web3 company.
He's still pushing boundaries. He even played piano for Ryoko Shinohara at Kohaku in 2022.
Yeah. And looking ahead, music for a drone show in Shibuya, producing new idol units like ACONG and Oval System. He just keeps going.
It's an incredible arc. The impact is undeniable, isn't it? Pioneering synths in J-pop, creating the sound of the 90s.
The Komuro Sound, yeah. Million sellers, chart records broken, influencing a whole generation. His adaptability is maybe the most striking thing.
From the first synth to AI and NFTs now, always evolving.
Absolutely. Consistently embracing the new, whether it's technology or just a different approach to music.
So wrapping up this deep dive, wow. We've covered so much ground on Tetsuya Komuro, classical roots, the synth revolution, the insane peak of the boom, the really tough times, and this constant reinvention.
He's a roller coaster of a career.
Definitely. For me, the aha moments were things like just how deep that early synth passion ran, the almost corporate strategy behind the boom years, the sheer scale of the highs and lows, and just that drive to keep creating, keep exploring, even now with AI. It's fascinating.
What stands out to me is that constant learning and adapting. He wasn't afraid to jump into new tech, new genres, even redefine his whole role in the industry multiple times. It really shows how art, tech, and the business side are all tangled up.
And how much resilience it takes to navigate all that.
Exactly. Creativity and serious toughness.
Which leads to our final thought for everyone listening. Thinking about Komuro's whole journey, the triumphs, the tech shifts, the commercial pressures, the setbacks, what does it really tell us about that intersection between artistic vision, technology, making a living, and how the music industry just keeps changing?
Yeah, and how are artists wrestling with those same kinds of forces today? Are there lessons from Komuro's story, both the good and the difficult parts?
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.